Ever feel like city life is happening, like, around you? Not necessarily with you.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're taking you behind the scenes
Yeah.
of how decisions are made right here in Montreal. We're digging into the March 2024 City Minutes.
Okay.
Now, I know Minutes doesn't exactly scream like thriller, right?
Well, they might surprise you. These documents, I find, they're like little time capsules.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, of civic life. The contracts that are being signed, debates that are sparked, even like questions from everyday Montrealers, right?
Wow.
Making their way into the official record.
And that's what we're after.
Yeah.
Those, like, surprising little nuggets buried in hundreds of pages. We've got 2 volumes from March 2024 to unearth here. Think of it like panning for gold.
Okay.
Except instead of shiny flakes, we're after insights into how Montreal really ticks.
Yeah.
And luckily, I've got an expert guide with me who can connect the dots.
Yeah.
Not just what's happening, but why it matters.
Happy to lend my detective hat for this deep dive. I'm really interested, in those citizen question sections.
Yeah.
They're really often like windows
Oh, yeah. Okay.
into the heart of what residents actually care about.
Perfect. Because our first head-scratcher comes straight from a citizen question about something called the Boise-Steinberg.
Okay.
It's a green space. It sparked a whole debate when someone proposed extending a boulevard right through it.
The classic urban planning dilemma.
Right.
Balancing development with preserving green spaces.
Uh-huh.
And this isn't just a local issue either. Cities around the world are wrestling with this.
Oh, wow.
From, preserving parks in New York to protecting ancient trees in Seoul during construction. It reflects this growing awareness that these spaces are vital, not just for aesthetics, but, for our well-being, for mental well-being,
Yeah.
and even mitigating the impacts of climate change.
So this one citizen's question about Boise-Steinberg hints at a much bigger conversation.
Exactly.
That's happening globally.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, from local concerns to the global stage. Remember that Montreal International Development Fund we mentioned?
Yes.
Over $500,000 went to them. And I was curious, what do they do internationally?
So many cities are realizing that they're not just isolated islands. They have a role to play in global challenges. This fund, from what I gather, supports projects all over the world, from improving access to clean water to empowering women entrepreneurs. It's like Montreal's own small-scale global outreach program.
Okay, that's way cooler than I imagined.
Yeah.
See, this is what I mean. You just have to know where to look.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes where to look is in the fine print about potential floods.
Yeah, okay.
Montreal's no stranger to rain, but the level of detail in this flood risk analysis was surprising.
Interesting.
They've got maps, vulnerability assessments, the whole shebang.
Cities are increasingly using data to prepare for the future, right?
Yeah.
Especially with climate change and all the uncertainties there. This analysis likely helps them to prioritize investments
Okay.
in infrastructure and their emergency preparedness plans.
So it's about being proactive,
Exactly.
not just reactive.
It's essential for any city's long-term resilience.
It's like having a crystal ball, but instead of predicting the future, they're using data to build resilience for it. Speaking of data, I found a surprising amount on Montreal's furry residents.
The dog days of Montreal. I did notice a section dedicated to regulating potentially dangerous dogs.
Yes.
It's more than just leash laws. It's about balancing the needs of pet owners with public safety concerns.
And there are more of those dogs than I expected.
Is that right?
Yeah. Made me think about the resources dedicated to animal control, the regulations, the whole system in place. Like opening a window into a side of city life most of us don't think about, until we need it.
Exactly. These seemingly small details, right?
Yeah.
In the minutes, highlight how a city manages that delicate balance
Yeah.
of coexisting with animals, even in a dense urban environment.
Okay, last stop on our highlight reel before we dive deeper.
Okay.
This one's for the art lovers. I was combing through contracts. Yes, I actually read them.
Wow.
And stumbled upon one for an artist named Chloe Charbonnier.
Cities often support the arts through grants or commissions. What kind of art does Chloe create?
She's a visual artist, and her project is called Des racines pour grandir en jumelage, which my French-speaking friends tell me means roots to grow in twinning.
Intriguing. That suggests it's not just about art itself, but also about, cultural exchange or community building
Right.
through a partnership, perhaps with another city or region.
Oh.
This single contract might be a thread, leading to a much larger story about Montreal's international relationships.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
These little glimpses have me hooked.
They are quite enticing, aren't they?
Yeah.
These highlights give us a taste, just a taste, of the diverse stories that are buried within these minutes.
So buckle up, because next we're going beyond the highlight reel.
Cool.
We'll explore how citizens are making their voices heard, we'll unravel the mysteries of city spending, and even examine how Montreal ensures transparency and accountability. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into Montreal's City Minutes from March 2024.
As we've been going through these initial discoveries,
Yeah.
it's really got me curious about how these decisions are made. Like who's involved, what drives the city's priorities. Yeah, and that's what we're going to uncover now. Remember that citizen question about the Boise Steinberg? That was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of, resident involvement.
Right. It wasn't just like one person, right, wondering about a park.
Exactly.
There was like this whole saga unfolding in the minutes.
Yeah.
About the development plans for that whole area.
Exactly. We see citizens going beyond just asking questions. There's organized pushback against a proposed development at the historic Nordelec complex.
Oh.
For those unfamiliar with Montreal, this complex, it was once like a major industrial hub, home to the Northern Electric Company. And now it's being reimagined for mixed-use development.
Okay.
And the minutes actually show residents presenting like detailed arguments, citing concerns about preserving the site's heritage, the need for more green space, the overall impact on the community.
It's like they're saying, hey, this is our city, right? And we have a say in how it evolves.
Exactly.
And they're not just like voicing opinions, they're like coming prepared.
Right.
Even citing specific sections of Montreal's urban plan to like support their case.
This level of citizen engagement is, I think, crucial
Yeah.
for a healthy democracy, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
And it's fascinating to see how these concerns are reflected in the minutes, becoming part of the official record.
It really highlights how these documents aren't just about what the city decides, right? It's really about the forces that shape those decisions.
Yeah.
And speaking of shaping things, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the financial side of things. The city's budget, to be exact.
Ah, yes. The flow of funds. This is where we see the city's priorities translated into concrete action, wouldn't you say? The sheer volume of contracts that are detailed in these minutes, it's staggering.
It's a bit dizzying, honestly. Everything from snow removal contracts to agreements for like IT services.
Oh, wow.
Even, funding for artists like Chloe Charbonnier, who we touched on earlier.
It really shows the scope
Yeah.
of what a city manages on a daily basis.
Yeah.
For example, there's this multi-million-dollar contract for the environmental remediation of a former industrial site. That reveals, I think, the hidden costs of past practices.
Right.
And the city's responsibility in addressing them.
It's like peeling back the layers of the city's history.
Yes.
And you see how those past choices have like a ripple effect in the present.
Exactly.
And then there are more mundane things like a contract for managing the city's vehicle fleet.
It made me wonder, how many vehicles does Montreal own?
Yeah, what does that say about their approach to transportation?
Atlanta.
And their carbon footprint.
Right.
Every contract, I think, offers a glimpse into how a city functions.
It's all interconnected, isn't it?
Yeah.
And speaking of connections, one thing I kept coming back to while reading these minutes was the question of transparency and accountability. With so much money flowing, so many decisions being made, like how does Montreal ensure that everything's above board? That's where these mechanisms of oversight come into play.
Okay.
The minutes themselves are a part of this, right?
Right.
A public record of discussions and decisions.
Yeah.
But they also shed light on specific bodies that are responsible for maintaining that transparency, like the audit committee?
Yes. The audit committee. What exactly is their role?
Think of them as like independent watchdogs,
Okay.
ensuring the responsible use of public funds.
Okay.
They have the authority to, review the city's financial records, scrutinize spending, and, flag any irregularities.
Hmm.
And then their findings are presented in reports, and these are often included in the minutes
So
themselves.
it's like having a financial checkup for
Exactly.
the entire city, making sure everything's in order. And these reports are publicly available.
Exactly. This transparency is crucial, I think, for building trust
Right.
between citizens and their government. It allows residents to see how their tax dollars are being used,
Mm,
to hold their elected officials accountable,
right.
and to engage in, informed debate about the city's priorities.
It makes you realize that these documents, which, at first glance might seem dry and bureaucratic,
Right.
they're actually like tools for civic engagement.
Exactly.
They offer this window into the inner workings of our city,
Mm-hmm.
empowering us to understand and participate in that decision-making process.
Precisely. And that brings us back to those citizen questions and concerns that, we were discussing earlier.
Right.
It's a reminder that informed citizens are so essential for a well-functioning democracy.
It's like this two-way street.
Yeah.
The city has a responsibility to be transparent.
Yes.
And we, the citizens, have this responsibility to, stay informed and engaged.
I agree.
It's a partnership, really.
Indeed. And as we delve further into these minutes, we'll uncover even more examples of this interplay
Yeah.
between citizens and their city.
It's funny as we've been picking apart these city minutes.
Yeah.
It struck me how they capture this specific moment in time, right?
Right. Right.
A snapshot of Montreal in March 2024
Mm-hmm.
with all its ambitions and complexities.
It's like reading a story with multiple plot lines
Right.
happening at once.
Yeah.
We see the city striving for sustainability,
Okay.
investing in things like, flood risk analysis, green infrastructure. But then, on the other hand, there are also contracts for road widening projects,
Right.
and parking garages.
It's that tension that I find so fascinating, right? It's like the city's trying to balance these competing priorities, trying to move forward
Yeah.
while still acknowledging the realities of existing infrastructure
Right.
and the needs of different communities.
It reminds us that progress isn't always linear, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There are often these trade-offs and compromises involved in, governing this complex urban environment.
Right. And I think that's where those mechanisms for transparency and accountability
Yes,
become even more crucial.
exactly.
Remember the audit committee we discussed?
Of course.
This-
City's financial watchdogs.
Right, making sure everything is on the up and up.
Yes, and their reports, which are, as we said, often included in these minutes,
Right.
provide, I think, this added layer of scrutiny.
Hmm.
They highlight, any areas of concern,
Right.
ensuring that, that public funds are being used responsibly
Right.
and effectively.
It's reassuring to know that someone's keeping a close eye on the city's finances.
Yes.
But it's not all about budgets and infrastructure, is it?
No, it's not.
These minutes also reveal the city's efforts to address social issues.
Yes.
Things like, homelessness and food insecurity.
Absolutely. We see contracts with community organizations,
Mhm.
funding for, social programs,
Mhm.
even discussions about how to, better support vulnerable populations.
That's really about people, ultimately, right?
Exactly. These aspects, I think,
Yeah.
remind us that a city is more than just, buildings and streets.
It's about creating a city that works for everyone,
Yes.
right? And these minutes, in their own way,
Yeah.
give us a glimpse into how that work is being done, the challenges,
Right.
the successes,
Of course.
the ongoing efforts to create a more livable and a more equitable Montreal.
And that's what I find so compelling about these documents.
Yeah.
They might seem tedious or
Sure.
inaccessible at first glance, right?
Right.
But they really offer this valuable window
Yeah.
into the heart of a city.
Into how it works.
They show us how decisions are made,
Oh.
how resources are allocated,
Right.
and how citizens can make their voices heard.
It's like we've been on this behind-the-scenes tour
Yes.
of Montreal's civic life.
Exactly.
So the next time that you walk past City Hall,
Mm-hmm.
or you see a notice, right, for a council meeting,
Mhm.
just remember that there's this whole world of activity happening behind those doors.
Yeah.
Decisions being made that impact your daily life.
And I would encourage you as listeners to do your own digging.
Yes.
Explore the city documents that are available in your own community.
Yeah,
You might be surprised by what you uncover.
absolutely.
What stories will you find? What insights will you gain?
Because the more we understand about how our cities function,
Right?
the more equipped we are to engage in those meaningful conversations about their future. So, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Montreal City Minutes. We hope it sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to become a more engaged citizen.
Indeed.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.